The eviction notice sits on my kitchen counter next to a half-empty bottle of wine. 3 months behind on rent, and the landlord's patience has finally run out. I pour another glass and stare at the faded photo on my phone. Mark in his dress blues, his arm around me at our wedding 5 years ago. Back when I was somebody. Back when I was the wife everyone admired. Now I'm just the woman who betrayed a war hero. It started so innocently. Mark got his deployment orders to Afghanistan in March, and I promised him I'd be strong. The other military wives rallied around me, inviting me to their support groups and coffee meetings. They called me an inspiration, said I handled the separation with such grace. If they only knew how I cried myself to sleep those first few weeks, clutching his pillow, counting down the days on the calendar. The loneliness was suffocating. Our little house in Columbus felt like a tomb without Mark's laughter filling it. I'd wake up at 3 a.m, reaching for him, finding only cold sheets. The wives' group helped during the day, but the nights were unbearable. That's when I made my first mistake. I unblocked Tyler on social media. Tyler and I had dated for 3 years before I met Mark. We'd broken up over his inability to commit, his constant talk of needing to find himself before settling down. When Mark came along, steady, devoted, ready to build a life together, I didn't look back. Or at least I thought I didn't. His first message was harmless enough. "Hey, stranger, saw you're going through a tough time with Mark deployed. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking of you. Here if you need to talk." I should have deleted it, should have blocked him again immediately, but I was drowning in loneliness, and his message felt like a lifeline. What harm could there be in talking to an old friend? We started texting daily. Nothing inappropriate at first, just catching up, sharing memories, complaining about work. Tyler had finally gotten his life together, had a good job as a contractor, even bought a house 20 minutes from mine. He understood my loneliness, said all the right things about how hard it must be to have my husband so far away. The deployment routine settled into a brutal rhythm. Wake up at 5, check my phone for a message from Mark that was rarely there. He could only contact me from the main base, never from a mission. Make coffee in the silence. Drive to my job at the dental clinic on base. Smile at other military families all day. Pretend everything was fine. Come home to an empty house. Make dinner for one. Watch TV alone. Go to bed alone. Repeat. Mark called when he could, but the time difference and his missions made it sporadic. Sometimes we'd go 2 weeks without talking. Meanwhile, Tyler was always there, always available, always ready to listen. When Mark's calls came through crackling with static, talking about things he couldn't really discuss, Tyler's messages were clear and comforting. "You deserve someone who puts you first," Tyler texted one night after I'd missed Mark's call because of the time difference. "Not someone who chose a job over you." "He didn't choose it over me," I typed back. "He's serving our country." "Noble, but you're still alone in that bed tonight, aren't you?" I stared at that message for 20 minutes before responding. He wasn't wrong. I was alone. Had been alone for 2 months at that point, with at least 4 more to go. Maybe longer if the deployment got extended, which happened all the time. The shift happened gradually. Tyler started mentioning how beautiful I looked in my photos, how Mark was lucky to have me. Then came the comments about how he'd messed up letting me go, how he thought about what might have been. I should have shut it down, but instead I found myself dressing up before taking selfies, wondering what Tyler would think. "That red dress always was my favorite," he messaged after I posted a photo from a military spouse event. "You remember that?" I responded, hating how pleased I felt. "I remember everything about you, Jenna. How you take your coffee with 2 sugars and just a splash of cream. How you sing in the shower when you think no one's listening. How you curl your toes when you're happy. Some things a man doesn't forget." 2 months into Mark's deployment, Tyler suggested coffee. "Just as friends," he said. "I know you must be going stir-crazy in that house alone." I told myself it was innocent, told myself I deserved a break from the endless waiting and worrying. The other wives wouldn't understand. They'd judge me for even texting another man. But they didn't know how empty my bed felt, how quiet my house was, how much I ached for human connection. I spent 2 hours getting ready for that coffee, changed outfits 3 times, did my makeup carefully, even wore the perfume Tyler had bought me years ago that I'd kept hidden in my drawer. When I walked into the cafe and saw his face light up at the sight of me, a fracture line ran through something deep inside me. "You look incredible," he said, standing to hug me. The hug lasted too long. I let it. Coffee turned into lunch. We talked for 3 hours, laughing about old memories, catching up on mutual friends. He told me about his business, how he'd finally made something of himself. I told him about the loneliness, the fear every time the doorbell rang that it might be notification officers. He reached across the table and took my hand. "You're the strongest woman I know," he said. "Mark has no idea how lucky he is." "I'm not strong," I whispered. "I'm falling apart." "Then let me help hold you together." We started meeting twice a week, always in public at first, always just as friends. But the touches lingered longer, his hand on my lower back guiding me through doors, my hand on his arm when I laughed. The conversation grew more intimate. He remembered things about our relationship that I'd forgotten, painted pictures of what our life could have been. "Remember that apartment on Birch Street?" he asked one afternoon. "The one we were going to rent before we broke up?" "I drove by it the other day. There's a young couple living there now. Made me think about what if." "What if doesn't matter," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. "Doesn't it?" "You're sitting here with me instead of waiting by the phone for a call that might not come. That tells me what if matters a lot." The first time he kissed me was after he'd fixed my leaky faucet. Such a mundane thing. Mark had promised to fix it before he deployed but ran out of time. Tyler came over with his tools, had it done in 20 minutes. I offered him a beer as thanks. 1 beer became 2, became a bottle of wine on the couch. "I should go," he said when the wine was nearly gone. "You should," I agreed. Neither of us moved. Then he was kissing me, and I was kissing him back, and all the loneliness and fear and anger at being abandoned for a war I didn't understand poured out of me. When he carried me to the bedroom I shared with Mark, I didn't stop him. Afterward, lying in the dark with his arm around me, I waited for the guilt to crush me. Instead, I felt alive. For the first time in months, I wasn't alone. Someone wanted me, chose me, put me first. The wedding photo on the nightstand faced the wall. I'd turned it around without even thinking. "This was a mistake," I said without conviction. "Was it?" Tyler traced patterns on my bare shoulder. "When was the last time you felt this good?" I couldn't answer because the truth was too damning. Being with Tyler felt better than the last months with Mark before deployment, when everything was preparation and logistics and him pulling away emotionally to prepare for war. It became a routine. Tyler would come over after dark, park his truck down the street so the neighbors wouldn't see. We'd close all the blinds, and I'd pretend for a few hours that my life was simple, that I wasn't married to a man risking his life 6,000 miles away. The lies came so easily. When Mark managed a video call, I'd mastered the devoted wife act. I'd cry on cue, tell him how much I missed him, how proud I was. All while wearing a robe to hide the marks Tyler had left on my skin the night before. "The house feels so empty without you," I told Mark during one call, not mentioning that Tyler's toothbrush was in my bathroom. "Just a few more months, baby," Mark said, looking exhausted. "I'm counting the days until I can hold you again." "Me too," I lied, already thinking about my plans with Tyler that weekend. The other wives kept praising my strength. Sarah Martinez, whose husband was on his 4th deployment, called me her role model. "You handle this so well," she said at one of our meetings. "Some women fall apart, but you just keep it together." "We all cope differently," I said, thinking of how I'd spent the morning in Tyler's bed. The support group meetings became torture. These women spoke of honor, sacrifice, keeping the home fires burning. They shared tips for care packages, counted days on calendars, lived for those brief phone calls. I sat among them like a fraud, nodding along while my phone buzzed with messages from Tyler. Thinking about last night. Can't wait to see you again. When can I have you all to myself for a whole weekend? Wore that cologne you like, wish you were here to smell it on me. I became reckless. Started meeting Tyler in public more often, telling myself Columbus was big enough that no one would notice. We went to restaurants on the other side of town, saw movies in theaters 40 minutes away, but military communities are smaller than you think. One night at dinner, I saw Lisa Chen from the wives group 2 tables over. She did a double take when she saw me with a man who wasn't Mark. I panicked, but Tyler stayed calm. "Just introduce me as your cousin," he said. "In town for business." Lisa bought it, or pretended to. But the seed of suspicion was planted. She started asking more questions at meetings, watching me more closely. I had to be more careful, but instead of stopping, I just got better at lying. The sex was part of it, yes. After months of nothing, Tyler's hands on me felt like redemption. But it was more than that. It was having someone to cook dinner for, someone to complain to about my day, someone who chose me over everything else. With Mark, I was always second to the army. With Tyler, I was first. "Leave him," Tyler said one night, bold as brass. "When he gets back, leave him. Be with me. I can't do that to him, not after a deployment. But you can do this." He gestured at us, naked in my marriage bed. "You think this is kinder?" He had a point, but I was too deep in my delusion to see it. I convinced myself I could have both. The hero husband when he returned, and the attentive lover while he was gone. I deserved that much, didn't I? After all I was sacrificing? Mark's unit got extended 3 months. When he called with the news, I cried. Not because I'd have to wait longer to see my husband, but because I'd grown comfortable in my double life. Tyler and I had fallen into a routine, dinner twice a week, overnight stays on weekends. We were careful, always careful, or so I thought. Tyler started pushing boundaries, leaving things at my house, a watch here, a shirt there, taking photos of us together, swearing he'd never show anyone, getting possessive when I mentioned Mark. "It kills me," he said one night, "knowing you still wear his ring." I looked at my wedding band, the one I'd never taken off despite everything. It would raise questions if I didn't. From who? He's not here to notice. Tyler, please, you knew what this was. Did I? Because I thought this was us getting a second chance, not me being your dirty secret while you play perfect wife. The fight started then. Tyler wanted more. Public acknowledgement, a real relationship, a future. I wanted to maintain the status quo until I figured out what to do. He threatened to end things. I'd panic and promise something, anything to keep him from leaving me alone again. When the extension got cut short and Mark's unit was coming home a month early, everything crashed down. I had 3 weeks to end things with Tyler, to erase any trace of what I'd done, to transform back into the faithful wife. "I need you to delete everything," I told Tyler. "All the photos, all the texts, everything." "You're seriously going back to him? After everything we've been to each other? He's my husband. I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one who held you when you cried, who fixed your house, who made you feel alive again. And you're just going to throw that away? This was always temporary. You knew that." His face went cold. "Temporary, 8 months of my life, and I was just temporary." "Tyler, please understand." "I understand perfectly. You used me, got what you needed while your husband was gone, and now you're throwing me away like garbage." "That's not fair." "Fair!" He laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been you telling me from the start that I was just a placeholder. Fair would have been you not saying you loved me. I had said it, multiple times, in the heat of passion, in quiet moments, when he made me laugh. I'd meant it in those moments, or thought I did. Now the words felt like weapons he could use against me. I need those photos deleted, I repeated. Or what? You'll stop seeing me? His smile was cruel. Too late for that threat, Jenna. I tried to end things calmly, rationally. Explained that what we had was beautiful but impossible. That I had obligations, a life I'd built before him. He didn't accept any of it. You're going to regret this, he said, as he left that night. When you're lying next to him, remembering how good we were together, you're going to regret choosing duty over love. I spent the next week in a frenzy of cleaning, washing sheets multiple times, checking every corner for evidence, deleting texts and photos and emails. I got my hair done, bought new lingerie, practiced my surprised face in the mirror. I would be the perfect homecoming wife. The morning of Mark's return, I was flawless. Hair professionally styled, makeup subtle but enhancing, wearing the yellow sundress he'd loved. I stood with the other spouses at Fort Benning, holding my welcome home banner, genuine tears streaming down my face as the buses pulled in. When I saw Mark step off, my heart broke. He was thinner, older somehow, with new lines around his eyes. But his face when he saw me, pure joy, relief, love. He dropped his bag and ran to me, swept me into his arms, spun me around like a movie scene. God, I missed you, he whispered against my neck. Knowing you were here waiting for me kept me going. Every mission, every hard day, I thought of coming home to you. The guilt hit like a physical blow. This man had spent 8 months in hell, dreaming of coming home to his faithful wife, and I'd spent those months in another man's arms. I missed you too, I managed, and that at least was true. I had missed him, even while betraying him. The unit had planned a welcome home party for that evening at Sarah's house, all the families together celebrating the safe return of their soldiers. I spent the afternoon playing perfect wife, listening to Mark's carefully edited stories, making his favorite meal, being attentive and loving. He kept touching me like he couldn't believe I was real. Each touch burned with shame. I want to hear everything, he said over dinner. How was your time? I know it must have been hard. It was manageable. The other wives were wonderful support. Sarah told me you were the rock of the group, said you never missed a meeting, always had encouragement for the newer wives. I had missed meetings, many of them, too busy with Tyler to support women who were actually remaining faithful. Everyone copes differently, I said. Well, I'm proud of you. I know I asked a lot, being gone so long, but we made it through. If he noticed I could barely meet his eyes, he attributed it to emotion. The party started at 6. Mark wore civilian clothes for the first time in months, kept his arm around me as we mingled. The other soldiers teased him about being attached at the hip, but he didn't care. Can't let her out of my sight again, he joked. Might disappear on me. Everyone laughed. I forced myself to smile while my phone vibrated insistently in my purse. I knew who it was without looking. I escaped to the kitchen under the pretense of helping with food. Finally checked my phone to find 15 messages from Tyler, each more aggressive than the last. Saw the buses came in. Happy reunion? Bet you're playing perfect wife right now. Does he know another man's been in his bed? I'm coming over. You can't ignore me, Jenna. We need to talk. Now. The last message made my blood freeze. On my way to Sarah's. Know you're there. We're going to have that talk. I was frantically typing a response when Sarah grabbed my arm. Jenna, there's some guy outside asking for you. Says he knows you? My world tilted. What does he look like? Tall, dark hair, leather jacket, kind of aggressive. Should I get Mark? No, I said too quickly. No, I'll handle it. Probably just a neighbor or something. I found Tyler on the front porch, dressed in jeans and the leather jacket I'd bought him for his birthday. A detail that made my stomach lurch. He looked good. He'd planned this, dressed to impress, to hurt. Hey, Jenna. Thought I'd stop by and welcome the hero home. You need to leave. Now. My voice shook. That's not very friendly. After everything we've been through? He stepped closer, and I could smell whiskey on his breath. 8 months is a long time to be lonely. Good thing you had me to keep you company. Sarah appeared in the doorway. Everything okay here? Just an old friend saying hi, Tyler said smoothly. Actually, I have something for Mark. A thank you for his service. He pulled out his phone. Some pictures from the home front. You know, to show him how well Jenna was taken care of while he was gone. My knees nearly buckled. Tyler, please, I'm begging you. Begging? Like you begged me not to leave last week? Like you begged me to stay every night for 8 months? Sarah's face changed, understanding dawning. Jenna, what's going on? But Tyler was already pushing past us into the house. I followed on numb legs, Sarah behind me asking questions I couldn't answer. The crowd in the living room turned as Tyler raised his voice. Excuse me, looking for Sergeant Mark Thompson? I've got something he needs to see. Mark stood up from the couch, still in soldier mode, instantly alert to threat. I'm Mark Thompson, and you are? Tyler Morrison. I've been, helping your wife while you were gone. He held up his phone. Thought you might want to see how well I took care of her. Time slowed. I watched Mark's confusion curdle into suspicion, saw the other soldiers tense in unison, ready to defend their brother. Tyler turned his phone screen toward the room. The first picture was tame, us at dinner, my hand on his across the table. But he swiped quickly through worse ones. Me in his bed, him in mine, us kissing in my doorway, screenshots of texts that left no room for interpretation. 8 months of messages and memories, Tyler announced. Would you like me to read some? They're very detailed. The room erupted. Women gasping, pulling children away, men shouting, someone grabbing for Tyler's phone. But Mark just stood there, staring at me with eyes that had seen friends die, but nothing that prepared him for this. Is it true? His voice was quiet, cutting through the chaos. I couldn't speak, couldn't lie, couldn't confirm, just stood there with tears streaming down my face. Tyler laughed. Oh, it's true. Every single night she told you she was lonely? She was with me. Every time she said she missed you, she was in my bed. Hero overseas, and I kept your wife very happy at home. Someone, I think it was Sarah's husband, grabbed Tyler and started forcing him outside. Tyler kept shouting over his shoulder. Ask her about the birthmark on her hip. Ask her who really fixed the faucet. Ask her why she cried my name instead of yours. The door slammed behind him, but his words lingered like poison. Every eye in that room turned to me. Disgust, disappointment, rage, pity. The wives who'd called me strong, the soldiers who'd thanked me for supporting Mark, the children who'd made me welcome home cards. They all saw me for what I really was. Mark, I started, reaching for him. He stepped back like I was contaminated. Don't. Please, let me explain, Dash. Explain! His voice cracked. Explain how you spent my entire deployment with another man. Explain how you let me believe you were faithful while you were... He couldn't finish. It wasn't like that. I was lonely, and you were gone. And Dash. I was at war! The words exploded out of him. I was getting shot at, watching friends die, and you were lonely? The room was silent now, everyone watching our marriage implode in real time. 8 months, he continued, quieter now, more devastating. 8 months I survived on thoughts of you, your picture in my pocket, your letters keeping me sane. And the whole time... He walked out, just turned and left, and I tried to follow, but Sarah blocked my path. Don't you dare, she hissed. Don't you dare chase after him now. You've done enough. This is none of your business. You made it our business when you betrayed him while wearing that. She pointed at my wedding ring. Every meeting where you sat with us, every time you accepted our support, you were lying to our faces. The party dissolved after that. Parents hustled their children away as if I were contagious. Soldiers fell in line behind Mark, and wives shot me looks of pure venom. I was left alone with Sarah, who wouldn't let me leave until she'd said her piece. Do you have any idea what you've done? Not just to Mark, but to all of us? We trusted you. The new wives looked up to you, and you were... God, I can't even say it. I never meant for it to happen. For 8 months? You accidentally fell on another man for 8 months? She laughed bitterly. You know what the worst part is? We would have helped you. If you were struggling, if you were that lonely, we would have been there. Instead, you chose this. I drove home in a daze to find Mark's truck already gone. He'd taken his deployment bag and nothing else. No note, no confrontation, just absence. The house felt different. Not empty like during deployment, but hollow. Gutted. I called, texted, begged for him to talk to me. Nothing. Tyler called too, alternating between apologies and accusations. I blocked him, but he just used different numbers. This is your fault. You should have chosen me. We could still be together. Leave him. Be with me. You ruined everything. By morning, the pictures were everywhere. Tyler, in his vindictive rage, had posted them on social media, tagged people who knew us, sent them to Mark's command. My phone exploded with notifications, former friends calling me every name imaginable, Mark's family disowning me, strangers weighing in on my betrayal. The military community turned on me overnight. At the commissary, other wives literally turned their backs when I walked by. At work on base, soldiers refused to let me clean their teeth. One spit at my feet when I called his name in the waiting room. I don't let traitors touch me, he said loudly. Who knows where that mouth has been? My supervisor, a veteran himself, called me into his office. This is creating a hostile work environment. I think it's best if you seek employment elsewhere. You're firing me because of my personal life? I'm firing you because you've become a disruption to good order and discipline. No one wants to be treated by the woman who betrayed Sergeant Thompson while he was in combat. Mark filed for divorce within a week. I got the papers at work, had to sign for them in front of everyone. The courier made sure to announce loudly what he was delivering. Mark asked for nothing, not the house, not alimony, nothing, just his freedom from me. His lawyer, a JAG officer doing this pro bono, was ice cold. My client wants this done quickly and quietly. Sign here, here, and here. Can I at least talk to him? That's not advisable. Please, just 5 minutes. The lawyer looked at me with undisguised contempt. Ma'am, you had 8 months to think about whether you wanted this marriage. You made your choice. Sign the papers. I couldn't afford the house on my own. Couldn't afford anything once I lost my job. The military community is tight-knit, and word spread to civilian employers, too. One interviewer actually Googled me during our meeting, his face changing as he read. I don't think you'd be a good fit for our company culture, he said, not even pretending to consider me. Tyler disappeared after ruining my life, moved away, changed his number, left me to face the wreckage alone. Turned out he'd been recording everything from the beginning. Screenshots, photos, even some videos I didn't know he'd taken, planning his revenge for when I inevitably chose Mark over him. A mutual friend told me later that Tyler had bragged about it at a bar. She thought she could use me and walk away. Showed her what happens when you play with someone's feelings. So I'd been played too, in a way, but that didn't matter to anyone. I was the villain in everyone's story. The wives' support group formally expelled me with a letter. Your actions have violated the sacred trust of military spouses. Your presence would be detrimental to the morale and welfare of our members. Even my own family struggled to support me. My mother, a military wife herself for 30 years, could barely look at me. How could you? She asked during one horrible phone call. I raised you better than this. Your father and I weathered 3 deployments, and never once did I even think about... Mom, please. I made a mistake. A mistake? You carried on an affair for his entire deployment. That's not a mistake, Jenna. That's a choice. A series of choices. 8 months of choosing to betray your husband while he was serving our country. Now I sit in this one-bedroom apartment in a bad part of town, the only place that would rent to me without references. My neighbors deal drugs, domestic disputes echo through thin walls, and I sleep with a chair propped against my door. It's what I deserve, I suppose. I scroll through social media sometimes, torture myself with updates on lives I used to be part of. Mark remarried last year, a teacher from Alabama who waited for him through his next deployment without complaint. Sarah was her matron of honor. They post pictures of double dates, unit barbecues, all the life I threw away. They just had their first baby, Mark holding his son, glowing with the joy I stole from him once. The comments are full of congratulations and observations about how happy he looks, how he deserves this after everything he's been through. Someone commented, "So glad you found a real woman who knows how to honor a hero." It was liked 847 times. The Veterans Wives group has a new motto now, one they created after my scandal. Honor on the battlefield begins with honor at home. They use my story as a cautionary tale, warning new military spouses about the importance of loyalty. I've become a verb in their vocabulary. Don't pull a Jenna, they say when someone complains about deployment loneliness. I work at a truck stop diner now, the only place that didn't care about my past as long as I could carry plates. The other waitresses know my story. It follows me everywhere. They whisper when they think I can't hear, judge me for sins that are years old but still fresh in the military community's memory. Sometimes soldiers come in, heading to or from Benning. They never recognize me at first, but occasionally someone will do a double take, lean over to whisper to their buddies. Then come the cold stares, the refused tips, the muttered insults. I take it all. What else can I do? Last week I saw them. Mark and his wife and their baby, driving through on their way somewhere. They came into the diner, happy family on a road trip. I hid in the kitchen, but my coworker told me later what she overheard. "This place looks rough," the wife had said. "You sure it's safe?" "It's fine, honey," Mark replied. "Just quick food and we're gone." Besides, nowhere's really dangerous after Afghanistan. They laughed together, easy and comfortable. The life I could have had if I'd just waited, just been faithful, just remembered that temporary loneliness was nothing compared to permanent loss. I pour the last of the wine and stare at the eviction notice again. Texas, maybe, or Arizona. Somewhere no one knows my name, where I can pretend I'm just another divorced woman starting over. But I know the truth. There's no starting over from this. The internet is forever, and so is my shame. The worst part? I can't even blame Tyler, or the loneliness, or the deployment. Every choice was mine. Every lie, every deception, every moment I chose selfishness over loyalty. I destroyed my own life as surely as any enemy could have. Mark survived Afghanistan. He faced insurgents and IEDs and came home with medals for valor. But the real war was waiting for him here, in his own home, fought by the one person who'd promised to love and honor him. And I was the enemy he never saw coming.